Hey guys, this is Mark Howard, author of the Griffin Legends fantasy novel series. Thanks for joining me here. First off, I want to apologize here actually. It's been a hot minute since I've done a video here. It was, let's see, right after I filmed my last video. It was my birthday on January 22nd, and things were really busy that week. We got the couple weeks after that, I had kind of a bad cold for a while there, and I'm mostly over that now, but now I got one of those forever coughs that won't go away. I think it's mostly better, but I still got a little bit of a cough here, and then oh gosh, what else? Just day job has been busy and all that, and so it's been really hard the last like month to actually make it here to do a video. So I didn't die. I'm still here, but yeah, it has been a while. So sorry for those of you who may have been in the dark wondering what happened. So anyway. Today, I guess what I'd like to talk about here is kind of some world building stuff about the Griffin Legends series. I've been talking about a lot of fundamental building blocks with my brother Chris as he's been getting to contribute his own stories to this series here. And one thing that we talked a lot about is actually population numbers, which that's something that maybe that seems like a big thing or a small thing to some of us here, but it's actually really important on several different levels, right? So if I am telling a story like Godfrey's Crusade, where we have armies on the move, we, or at least I, really would be interested in the numbers involved in these armies, and I would also want to know what kinds of population levels we would need to support that army. Now, some settings, this is more or less important, right? Like, particularly if you have a very physically large fantasy setting where people can draw on resources from across the globe, or maybe in the case of big sci-fi universes where you have literal galaxies worth of resources for your characters to draw upon, the numbers involved with your armies become less important, right? But in my setting, I wanted to more or less reflect what was really going on in the Middle Ages to a certain extent. And so with that, the idea of like what constitutes a big city versus not, that's something that would look radically different depending on whether we were drawing from those more historical sources of inspiration or whether we were doing something more modern. For instance, the city of Rome, which during the reign of Augustus had about 1 million people in it, by the time we get to the Middle Ages, there had been centuries of war, famine, plague, all of this stuff going on here. Logistics get really, really bad, and so you can't support 1 million people there by, say, the year 1100. In 1100, you only had 30,000 people in Rome at that time, if I'm remembering the exact numbers right here. And that was, compared to Augustus's day, that's a ghost town, right? It's a very small place by comparison. It's run down, its glory days are behind it. And so when we are creating a fantasy setting, right, and we're talking about a burgeoning metropolis, those are kind of relative terms we're speaking with. And so it's important to know, when I say burgeoning metropolis, are we talking 30,000 people or are we talking 1,000,000 people? And having those numbers figured out beforehand will help us in describing whether our burgeoning city of 30,000 people is actually kind of sparse compared to a lot of places today, or if it really is going to be 1,000,000 people or multiple millions of people where we have to build these high-rise apartment buildings and that kind of stuff to cram them all in. And in answer to that question for my setting in particular, I didn't want that modern feel, right? I didn't want it to be too modern. I wanted this to be a world of limited resources. And so when it comes to things like troop numbers, right? How many soldiers are on the battlefield? It's like, okay, we can put together armies of 4,000, 5,000, relatively comfortably speaking here. And we can have, a couple hundred knights forming this elite corps. But it's also, the numbers are also small enough where my main character, Godfrey, may not have a really intimate relationship with every single one of his knights, but he at least knows the name of each of his knights. And while in some settings, maybe losing 100 knights is nothing and no one cares because there's 10,000 more knights just ready to go, I wanted this to be a setting where losing 100 knights is a really big deal. That this is something of a minor catastrophe that might take a generation to recover from. And so, that's something that I've been discussing with my brother at length as he's been working on his own story, right? And we've been trying to hash out the details of exactly what a near extinct species might look like in this setting, right? Because his story is dealing a lot with the elves that are living in the far north. And so we've had to wrestle with questions like, okay, if we're going to make a city of elves in the very far north, how many people can we cram into this place, logistically speaking? And those numbers relative to the general population, if we make those too high, then these guys actually don't come across as endangered or near extinct. Like if we had 80,000 elves in one city, it's like no one's going to think that they're in any kind of last bastion of their civilization. If we had 86,000 in this particular setting, people would say, no, they're doing just fine. So anyway, that's some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about here today. And it's something that, again, maybe for a lot of authors, they don't really care so much about the hard numbers, like how many people you can fit in a square mile of land or whatever. But for me, these kinds of details, even though they don't strictly come up all the time in every story that I tell, it's something important to have in the background. And it's this kind of knowledge is something that I feel that I can bring to my stories because I do have this background in history, right? That these are things that I've studied, and I've done calculations, and I know a little bit about what at least feels right for a bigger or smaller medieval army. And more important than anything else, I want everything in this setting to be cohesive, to feel like it all fits together there. And so that's something that has been on my mind here lately. It's been a lot of fun to talk about these details here, both with you guys on the video and with my brother as he's been working on his story. And so that's what I've got there for that. Just one little bit of interesting news before we tune out entirely, I guess, though. I am just a few reviews shy on Amazon of hitting 50 for Godfrey's Crusade here. And this is something of a bit of a milestone here, hitting 50 reviews, because it's my understanding, I could be wrong about this, but it's my understanding that once I hit 50 reviews for Godfrey's Crusade on Amazon, that Amazon will start advertising. Sorry, I got a little bit of a hiccup or something there, but Amazon will start advertising on my behalf once I hit 50 reviews. So if you have read Godfrey's Crusade and you love it, or you don't love it, maybe you hate it to death, right? But whatever your feelings are on Godfrey's Crusade, if you could take a moment out of your day to get on Amazon, write just a few short words telling us whether you liked it, you didn't like it, whatever the case may be. Write just a few short words about it, post it on Amazon. That'll help tip me over 50 reviews there. And once that happens, like I said, Amazon, I believe, will start advertising on my behalf, and that will be a huge boon to me, right? I, as a part-timer here when it comes to the author's world, we make some book sales. I put some of my own money into advertising these books and all that, but my ability to contribute to the advertising budget is not nearly as much as, say, what Amazon could do once they do start advertising here on my behalf. So if you could take a moment to put a review on Amazon, whether you love it or hate it, just a few short words, that's all it takes. If you could do that, that would mean a lot to me, and it may help push me one step closer to doing this gig full time. So thanks so much, guys. I appreciate all of you who tune in, that you watch, you like, you share, you subscribe, you do all that stuff. You send me messages on my author website and my Facebook page telling me how much you like this stuff. It means a lot to me, and we are going to keep pressing on here. There's a lot of good things in the works right now, and I can't wait to get them out to you. All right, take care, guys, and we will catch you next time.